Bienvenidos de nuevo y ahora con una leyenda. Voy a cambiar al inglés porque necesitamos utilizarlo con este increíble invitado que tenemos, Brian Tracy. Brian, first of all, it's an amazing pleasure to meet you.
Es un gran placer para mí también. Gracias.
There you go, good Spanish. You're basically a legend, a living legend in the world of sales. And for the people that don't know you, I'd like you to give a 30-second intro on how you got into being a public speaker and specifically into sales.
Well, I started off as a laborer. I did not finish school, so I worked in farms, I worked on ranches, I worked in factories, I worked on a ship, and when I could no longer find a laboring job, I got a job in sales in straight commission, and going from door to door each day, knocking on doors and selling a small product, and just enough to eat. And finally, I began to ask a question which changed my life, and the question was, why are some people more successful than others? Why are some people wealthy? Why do some people start? And we all start with nothing. And some people become very successful. So I began to study and study and study and read your books, for example, and learn, because each person has had an experience that is helpful.
So you would study it through people, through books, through programs. How would you?
I would, first of all, I would read. I would ask people, what book should I read, and what books would you advise? And I've had so many wonderful experiences. People say, "Oh, you should read this book. You should read this book." And I read the book, and it maybe had one idea. It changed my life forever. And then I listened to audio programs. I listened to the first audio programs that came out in the 1960s. And I was amazed because there's so much information on an audio program. And then I went to seminars. And I watched.
Do you remember specifically 2 or 3 names that helped you throughout your career?
Well, I listened to Zig Ziglar, I listened to Jim Rohn, I listened to Dennis Waitley, I listened to the motivational speakers.
Did you meet them in person?
Oh yes, in time, as I went up, they became close friends of mine. And so we were almost like partners, and we gave seminars together all over the country.
What do you think was the best of that dream team? Because that was do you remember the 1992 basketball dream team of the USA? Those names you're saying, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, that was a dream team.
Yes.
Who was the Michael Jordan of that team, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, there were, by the 1990s, I was in the top 5. And so you could say Jim Rohn, Dennis Waitley, Zig Ziglar, myself, and maybe those are the 4 big ones. And today, the 3 of them are gone. They've either retired or died. And so now, Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins is a wonderful motivational speaker. And another is Les Brown. He's a wonderful motivational speaker. But my goal has always been to have very high content, to give a lot of ideas. And so my reputation in this industry is I teach more ideas per minute than any other speaker. And that was my goal from the beginning, to give value, give a lot of value to my fans.
And you were a little bit more technical than motivational.
No,
you went into.
I was very practical.
Yes.
And everything I taught is something that you can take and use immediately. I got to the point where if you came to my seminar and you followed what I told you to do, you could double your income the following week. And I've done that 1,000 times, where people come back to me and they say, I did not believe you, but then I did what you said. And my income doubled in a week, or doubled in a month. I've been working for 10 years, and with 1 week or 1 month of using your ideas, my income doubled. And I speak now, I've spoken now for more than 1,000 big companies, and more than 10,000 small and medium-sized companies.
Now, Ryan, what amazed me about reading, I've read a couple of your books, not the 86, I have to admit, but maybe 3 or 4 of them. And what amazes me is that usually you put up an idea and connect it with a story.
Yes.
And you have all these 50, 60 stories in a book. Where do all these stories appear?
Well, they come from talking to you. They come from people coming to me in my seminars and telling me their story. Some of the stories that people have told me have just been wonderful stories. And then I read. I read books that have been 2,000 years old, and there's stories and stories. So I will take the stories and I will then combine them with my own experiences. And so it's like a windshield wiper. I believe, story, fact, so that people stay completely involved in learning.
And that's an excellent strategy. Can you remember like a story you particularly like?
Oh, there are so many. It's sort of like you have to give me some kind of provocation, like tell me something that reminds me of a story.
I don't know if you remember this story, but I actually remember the story you told about Paul Hornung. He was a quarterback from the Cincinnati Bengals and was benched, and then he was used as a running back. And that story for me was really amazing because Vince Lombardi came in to the Bengals. I don't know if you remember this.
No, I don't remember.
Vince Lombardi came in, and instead he was the second quarterback. And instead of putting him as a quarterback, he put him as a running back, and he became one of the best running backs in NFL. And I remember you using that in a book, sort of a very simple way of saying, move your pieces.
Yes. Well, one of the ideas that I have for a book is called turning points. And every person in their life, like you and me, we have points where we change. Something happens and we go in a different direction. Like you decided to get out of real estate development, you turned it over to an excellent executive, and now your focus is on selling. But something happened that caused you to change. And if you look at your life, your whole life is a series of turning points where something happened.
And sometimes it's not only good things, sometimes bad things happen that make those turning points.
Yes. Well, Barbara, my wife, and I talk about this, and we find that meeting the right woman or the right man is the major turning point. It's a major turning point in your life. You look back and you don't realize how important that was because it affected everything for many, many years.
And how do turning points appear later in life?
Later in life, you actually look back, and when you come to a turning point, often you don't realize it's a turning point. It could be an opportunity, it could be a piece of information, it could be a setback or a failure of some kind. Only later do you realize that from that point my life changed completely, and I never went back.
That's an interesting focus. So given the years of experience you've had, Brian, I'd like to ask you a couple of things. Is there something you regret on your sales part, or is there something you regret on your life? Like now that you look at it on the rear mirror, what do you think? And what would you tell somebody that's starting their own career as a?
Well, here's something that I learned is that one of the major reasons why people have their foot on the brake that holds them back is regrets. So I made a decision to have no regrets. And the way I explain it, I say, never regret something that you cannot change. And you cannot change a past event. So if something has happened in the past, it's gone, it's over. And you never worry about it. You don't become angry, you don't sue, you don't become angry at other people. Most people's failure is because of their regrets. So my philosophy is no regrets. I don't regret anything. I have never had a bad experience. I've just had learning experiences. You've had the same thing. Is what you do is you look at the mistake that caused you a lot of unhappiness or money. It's usually one of the two. And it's usually because of another person. Almost all of our big problems in life are other people. And then you say, all right, what did I learn from that? That will help me in the future. And you focus on learning. And it's the most amazing thing. I learned this technique 20, 30 years ago. When you have a major problem in life, a reversal, and it's past, you say, what did I learn from this experience? What lessons did I learn that I can apply in the future? And you write them down. And the miracle of writing, you write them down. I did this and I did that, and I should have done this, I should have done that. And then you just review those notes. And I know many people who went from poverty to millionaires, to become rich, because every time they had a setback or a problem, they sat down and they wrote down, what did I learn? What did I learn? What did I learn? Force yourself to extract everything you can from every experience, and that will make you rich. And also it'll make you happy, because when you're focusing on learning, all the negativity disappears. There's no negativity. It's just lessons.
You've seen the last 15 years with monumental changes on the digital side.
Yes.
And so do you feel that sales have completely changed, or is it how have you felt the digital change on the sales landscape?
Well, if you're talking about sales, we're talking about influencing other people. And technology is a way of influencing other people more efficiently, faster, easier, more efficiently. Before you could send out one letter, now you can send out an email that goes to 50,000 people. And so still, people need to like you, they need to trust you, they need to believe you, they need to believe that if they follow your advice, it will help them to improve their lives in some way. So selling hasn't really changed. It's all basically you and I talking together. Like you and I meet and I say, I would love to help you to be more successful. I would like to write a testimonial for you. We all have this natural desire to help other people if we can.
But some people have a greater desire to help you. And that amazed me in meeting you right now. Like, you have this amazing need to help. That's a very strong empathy then.
Well,
have you cultivated that, or is that something you remember since childhood?
Well, everybody has one desire in common with everyone else, is we all want to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy. Aristotle said this 350 years BC. He said, the one common goal that every person has for every action is to be happy. And no matter what you want to accomplish, you want to earn more money. Why? So you can have a house. Why? So you can provide for your family. Why? So that you can be happy. It's called the first moving force. The number one goal for everyone is to be happy. Now, so we come to helping other people. We are designed, almost like programs, so that we get a wonderful feeling of happiness when we help other people. That's why, like, for instance, I have 4 children and grandchildren. And whenever I do anything that makes them happy, it makes me happy. So you're always looking for ways to make the important people in your life happy. So therefore, if you want to be happy, make other people happy. And the more skilled you become at helping other people, I will tell you this, you will probably earn a lot of money in your career, but you will never remember earning a lot of money. You'll just remember the effect you had on other people. When other people tell you, yes, that you said this to me, or you helped me with this, or you changed my life in this way. And the money you'll forget completely, but you'll remember that story about somebody that you helped.
Yeah, that's so true. Now, if I might ask you a little bit more personal questions on the parenting side, because that's something that troubles me a lot.
Yeah.
You were somebody that was a public figure, you traveled a lot. How did you manage the parenting side? How did you balance that life? Because that's something I struggle with every day.
Well, the number one is you're married to a wonderful woman. That's so important. It's interesting, Barbara and I just had dinner with a friend of ours who we've known for 30 years in our business. And he said the same thing. He said the most important thing in his life is his marriage and his wife. And it's the same thing with me. And so if you really have a good marriage, good relationship, then everything works out. So when I was traveling 180 days per year.
180 days? 180
days per year. I would speak about 100 days, but then with traveling. Right. So I was gone 180 days a year. And Barbara was in complete charge of the children and the house. And so when I was not traveling, I was with Barbara and the children. And when I was traveling, Barbara was in charge. And so we never had a problem. And our children turned out to be wonderful children.
And if they are like 30-something years old, right?
Right.
What suggestion would you tell them as a parent now that they're going to become parents, or maybe they're already parents? What suggestion you tell somebody that's recently become a father?
The most important thing of all is to tell them that you love them. And no matter what happens, you love them 100%. And we learned this. Barbara and I studied how to raise happy children. And the most important thing that children need is their parents' love. In psychology, they call it unconditional love. In other words, the love is given freely and it's never taken away. It's never partial. It's always 100%. So our children know, and we tell our children that we love you 100%. And so now 3 of our children are married with children, and they tell their children that they love them 100%. And you can always tell if you're a good parent because your children laugh all the time. They're always laughing. And so we take our 3 children, their children laugh all the time because they're happy, because they know that their parents love them. And if you can do that, they say, a good friend of mine said this, I never forgot it. He said that all problems, all emotional problems that anybody has comes from love withheld. It's come when they were young, is their parents withheld their love. They took the love away. They made the love conditional. If you do this, then I will love you. If you don't do this, we take the love away. So the child is always insecure, and they grow up insecure. When they become adults, they have all this feeling, what if they take my love away? And so our children know that there is nothing that they can do to cause us to love them. We joke, we love them 100%, never even 99%. It's always 100%. That's all. And with your wife, it's the same thing. It's 100%, never changes, never less, because it's taking love away or even threatening to take love away that causes all the emotional problems. It's almost like a person is threatening to hurt you, because we need love. I used to say this, children need love like roses need rain. And it's the love that causes them to grow and to thrive and to become successful. And then they will seek other people who have the same ideas.
Great, Brian. I want to wrap up with a couple more questions. One, I get this message specifically all the time in social media, and sometimes I don't know what to answer when people contact me when they're on the weakest point of their life.
Yes.
Usually it's a bankruptcy, divorce. Imagine the worst possible scenario, the perfect storm.
Yes.
When somebody is living the perfect storm, they obviously turn to you, you seem successful, they look at me, I look at like a successful person, and they turn to me and they say, but you're not living this and this and this, and they give me these horrible scenarios. What do you tell somebody in that point of extreme weakness?
Well, I mentioned it before. The first thing is you accept. This goes back 200 years. The starting point in dealing with any problem in life is to accept it has happened. You had a car crash, the car is crashed. It's happened. Never become unhappy about a past event, because you can't change it. So what do you say, all right, is what do I do now? What can I learn from this experience that will help me in the future? One of the things that I found very early was that most millionaires, wealthy people, have been broke 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times before they finally learned enough to become rich. And then they become some of the richest people in the world. So therefore, we only succeed by failing. So if you have a failure, the dumbest thing of all is to have the failure and not learn from it. So you say, what can I learn from this? What lessons? And you write them down, write them down, write them down. And I have a good friend who was in his early 20s, 23, 24, and he and 2 friends of his started a business, real estate business, sales business, marketing business, and they worked very, very hard for 2 or 3 years, and they went broke. They lost everything. And so he sat down. He had to move back with his mother. He sat down and he said, what have I learned from this experience? And he wrote them down. And every week he would take out this list and he would review it, and sometimes add something else. Every week he would review his list of lessons learned. And when he had a new opportunity, new partnership, new business, he would read the list. And he'd study the list. When he had a problem in the business, he would study the list. And by the time he was 50, he had more money than he could spend for the rest of his life. He was so successful because he just kept referring back to his lessons learned. So one of the most important lessons that I learned is never quit. You never quit, you never give up. And you make a decision in advance that no matter what happens, I will never give up. If something goes wrong, it will not be because I'm bad. It just was something went wrong. When the economy goes down, enormous number of people lose a lot of money. So what you do is you say, what did I learn from this experience? And you pick yourself up, but you never give up. That's why you're successful. That's why other people are successful. But the thing is, you make the decision in advance. So it's sort of like, and I could talk about this for hours. It's so important. It's sort of like you're programming your mental computer. Programming your mental computer with a command. The command is you never give up, you never give up. So then when you do have a setback, your subconscious mind says, bing, never give up. It's automatic that you never give up. You never even think about giving up. You think about learning from it, doing something else, starting over.
And Brian, give me, I know you've written 86 books.
86 books.
86 books. That number is just, for me, it's astounding. I mean,
actually, it's probably more than 86, but it's probably more than 100 because I've done a lot of books with other authors, and so they're co-promotions. And I've written several books that I've gone to friends of mine, like you, and I say, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the rights to this book in Spanish, all right? And so we'll put your name and my name on it in Spanish. We'll pick a nice title, and so now I have books in Russian, in Romanian, in Polish, in Chinese, in the Indian languages, and so I say, just you and I, because we're friends, we'll produce the book together, and your name will be on it, and that will be your start. And many people change their whole lives because they got a book, and I've already written the book, and so they will go through and they'll add a few things.
But tell me, if we had to choose, because I know you obviously you can't speak badly about your, because every book for me is like a kid, no? You can,
right.
But if you were to select 3 or 4 of them to somebody that's just introducing into your world, which were the 3 favorites or the 3 first you would recommend to read?
Well, my book, Maximum Achievement, is considered by many all over the world to be the best book on personal success ever written. In fact, I just got an email with a video from a friend of mine at a conference where the father and the growing daughter stood up, and they're talking about maximum achievement and how it transformed their lives over the years. So I would recommend Maximum Achievement, which is in Espanol. And I also have another book called Goals. And the book Goals makes people rich. It's almost like taking some kind of a drug because it shows you it shows you how to decide
I'm sure
clearly.
a lot of people want that drug here in Mexico.
And then one of my best-selling books is called The Psychology of Selling. Is how do you sell well? Because most fortunes start with learning how to sell effectively. And so you need to learn how to sell. And you overcome your fears, you learn the strategies. I will talk about that a little bit later on today. And then I got really interested in time management because I realized the way that you manage your time determines how successful you are in everything. So I began to study it. I'm now the best-selling author in the world on time management. Mm-hmm. I sold 10 million copies. I still, and in 46 languages. And people say, changed my life, it made me rich. Your book made me rich. Your book made me rich because I didn't understand.
People always undervalue time. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, so you learn the skills of personal success. You learn how to sell. You read books on management, as you have written, books on how to manage well and use your time well, and you'll be a big success. And I joke with my audiences. I say, there's no one that can stop you from being a big success in life. And then I stop and I'll say, there is one person. There's one person that can stop you from being a big success. And who would that person be? Who is that person? And everybody in the audience goes, they all point at themselves. They all smile.
And it's true. I mean, that's the, as you say, you're putting the pedal on the brakes. Brian, it's just an honor to meet you.
It's an honor to be with you.
Mexico is your home.
Thank you.
And we're so glad and happy to have you here and to bring that big empathy wave you have here.
Thank you.
It's a great pleasure.
And it's a pleasure.
Pues ahí tienen a Brian Tracy y acuérdense siempre que uno son quien van a llegar a ser.